They say the left hand, it drop mountains. They say the right hand, be slaying dragons.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire. And y'all know the rest, man. Now listen, this is my official post-fight review for Zuffa Boxing Cuatro, Zuffa Boxing 4, Opetaia versus Brandon Glanton. And your result of the fight is a one-sided Opetaia unanimous decision victory. And this is actually my prediction. I got this like dead accurate because I knew Opetaia would win. I knew he'd have his moments hitting and hurting Brandon Glanton due to Brandon Glanton's like his real physical, rugged, mauling style. But I knew Brandon Glanton was very determined to win this fight, and he's also very durable and sturdy. So his pride and his physicality, it kept him on his feet. So Opetaia wins, and just kind of just dissecting the fight. I think in the early rounds, Brandon Glanton did a great job of actually forcing Opetaia to move, and he was actually doing pretty well in terms of making him move and box. And I think he actually forced Opetaia to show something new because, you know, when you go look at a lot of these Opetaia fights, like especially in recent memory against the guys like, you know, Hussein Sin Cara, Claudio Sequeiro, David Naika, you know, these guys, Ellis Sorrell, these guys don't force Opetaia to do anything else other than let his hands go and knock them out in spectacular fashion. With Opetaia, with Glanton, Opetaia had to box. He had to move. He had to fight in the pocket. And I give Glanton that much. Glanton didn't have the skills to win this fight, but he was determined enough and definitely gets an A for effort because he forced Opetaia to dig into his bag of tricks and show something new in this fight that he hasn't shown in his career. But, you know, as the saying goes in boxing, class tells over time. And ultimately, you know, you had Glanton falling over his front foot, getting hit with uppercuts, right hooks to the body, right hooks to the head. And, you know, Opetaia was just too much for him. And it was probably, I would say, the most mature and complete performance of Opetaia's boxing career. So he gets the win, and he becomes the first ever, the inaugural Zuffa Boxing World Champion. And what does it really mean in the grand scheme of things? I'm not really sure what it means because, you know, Opetaia, he's been used as a guinea pig for what's going on in boxing right now with Zuffa. And, you know, he got stripped by the IBF, and he paid his sanctioning fees. And he still made the IBF second day weigh-in, and he still wore the IBF belt proudly, but you know, he isn't the IBF champion anymore, so to speak. So he's made it very clear, like whether the IBF stripped him or not, you know, his main goal is to become the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. He doesn't care about the Zuffa belt that much. He doesn't care about going up to heavyweight. He wants to be the undisputed cruiserweight champion of the world. And I still think Jaya is very delusional. I still think that, you know, he's not living in reality because Zuffa Boxing does not want to deal with alpha belt titles. I don't care how Dana White wants to spin it as like the IBF, you know, being the bad guys here. I'm telling you guys not what I think. I'm telling you guys what I know. They don't want to deal with the alpha belt titles. They don't want to advertise or work with the organizations. They're trying to create their own ecosystem of boxing. And that ecosystem does not include dealing with IBF, WBA, WBC, or WBO. And that's just how it is. So I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen with Opetaia's career because he wants to fight the winner of the May 2nd fight between Zorro and Benavidez. But, you know, can that fight happen? Will Dana White be willing, ready, and able to work with, you know, Golden Boy Promotions and or Al Heyman and PBC? I'm not so sure, and I don't think they do. So yeah, good fight for him. There was talks about, you know, like, is Opetaia top 10 pound for pound? And for me, like, I like Opetaia. I probably talked about Opetaia more than anybody in American boxing media. But Opetaia is definitely not on the top 10 pound for pound yet. You know, his resume is not deep enough. There's fighters, you know, that I think have accomplished more than him in terms of who they've beaten and how they've beaten them that aren't on the pound for pound list. So for me, if I was rating Opetaia pound for pound, he'd be teetering somewhere around that top 15, 20 range. Now, if he can go get a Benavidez or Zorro on his resume, then it becomes more of a conversation. But you know what? I also feel that way about like Oscar Collazo. I don't think Oscar Collazo's be on the pound for pound list either. So it is what it is. But, if you're asking me, should Opetaia be above guys like Emmanuel Vaquero Navarrete? No, he shouldn't be on the list above him and things like that. But he's on his way. I like Opetaia. I just think for him, it's about his biggest challenge in his career hasn't been ability, hasn't been skills. It's just been about getting the fights that could put him on the map. So, he gets the win. It was his American debut, and he passed it with flying colors, which I think is a good step for him because when you're a foreign fighter coming to America, it's always a big watershed moment, a landmark moment in the careers of foreign fighters. So the fact that he came here and he won and did it in such a complete fashion, it definitely should do a lot for his confidence moving forward. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Opetaia. As far as the rest of the card, just real briefly, guys, just really briefly, because we have another week of camp here with Angelo Leo, so I don't want to make these videos too long, but because I have to get to bed soon. But it was a good card. It was a really competitive card, a very well matched card. I want to give credit to the matchmakers, like my main man, 50 grand, Ryan Scalia. Me and him go back some years, and I saw him earlier this week at the UFC Apex. But I really liked the one fight that really stood out to me on the undercard was definitely on the prelims between Brady Ochoa and Adrian Serrano. Those are two fighters that I know, that I'm very familiar with, that I've seen in the gym. So I was very intrigued because Brady has a very amateur style, and Adrian Serrano has been getting world-class work with guys like Junto Nakatani and fighters like that at the Manny Robles gym, and it was a good fight. I thought a draw was fair. Brady still hasn't quite matured into the kind of fighter that can step to an opponent on a consistent basis, but he was he had his moments. I think it's a good learning fight for him, and for Adrian Serrano, I think that the name of the game for him is consistency. He didn't have that consistency of closing the gap and being the more physically mature, imposing fighter. So that's what I'll say about him. And then I'll say for me, the other standout fight on the card is probably Ricardo Salas. Ricardo Salas, the big, strong, heavy-handed Mexican contender at welterweight. He's a guy that I've wanted to see get a lot of big fights in the division. And he fought a guy tonight, Jesus Sriracha, who was a battle-tested fighter. And he beat the brakes off of him. He stopped him in about 8 or 9 rounds. So just a really good impression from him. And I'm looking forward to seeing him maybe get involved in some bigger and better fights. In fact, I'll tell you guys this. I know it's only a one-off deal. But if Conor Benn decides to work with Zuffa Boxing for more than one fight, I would like to see Ricardo Salas get a crack at Conor Benn, because Conor Benn likes to be in all-action fights. Ricardo Salas is an all-action fighter. Zuffa Boxing likes all-action fights, so that could be one for the future. And that was overall was a good card. I thought what was the other one? Vlad Panin. He outclassed Shinar Bunch. Shinar Bunch, good fighter, but I think he's seen better days and might be the end for him. But yeah, overall, a really good fun day of boxing, because it felt like the card just dragged on all day. And that'll be one of my 2 critiques for Zuffa Boxing. They got to pace these cards out a little bit faster, in my opinion. And on top of that, I think they need to find a way to get some energy in the building, because the UFC Apex, it feels lifeless. It feels soulless. And they may have all the resources. They may match the fights very, very well. And that's all fine and great with Paramount Plus backing them. But at the end of the day, boxing is about the ambiance and the energy and the atmosphere that you get from the fans. And I think a big problem that Zuffa has, and this is only my opinion, is that they are pricing the working class boxing fans out of even having a chance to go to their fights. I wanted to go to the fight as a fan, and the tickets is like $300. $300, $250, and it's like in this economy, people are not going to spend $250, for one ticket. So I would like to see them find a way to make their cards more accessible towards the working class fans of boxing, because at the end of the day, boxing is a working class sport, and the people that really want to be there and that are going to make the noise and make the atmosphere all it can be are the working class great fans of boxing. So overall, those are my thoughts on Zuffa Boxing 4. I don't think this show was as good as Zuffa Boxing 3, just being honest, but it was a good show. I would say it was like a step below Zuffa Boxing 3. I would say it's the second best show they've done. Zuffa Boxing 3 is still the best show they've done so far, but nonetheless, another great night at the office for the fine folks there. So we'll see how it goes. And yeah, make sure y'all keep supporting True School Sports. I got a lot of content, a lot of interviews and things like that. I'm just trying to catch my rhythm here in Vegas because I'm in camp and there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to figure out how to manage everything. So just be patient with me, guys. I don't take this for granted. I really do respect my audience and things like that. So a lot of content coming out this week. But anyway, leave your comments down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time.
Thank you for watching True School Sports.
Thank you for watching another video on the untouchable True School Sports Empire, the home of boxing. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, guys. So help us keep being great. Help us keep pushing out that real boxing content for the fine folks all around the world. And make sure you jab, you hook, you Mike Tyson, you Mayweather that subscribe button. Pops, show them how do they gotta hit the subscribe button. Pow!